Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna be painting this house portrait, and I'm gonna just go straight into it by showing you how I start the process. So my first thing before I get to the painting is to sketch the house very roughly on my sketch pad, just to get an idea of the structure of the house. And once I've done that and I know more or less what I'm gonna do, I'll take the picture reference into Photoshop, and I will create some guidelines there that would tell me, the proportions and where key parts of the house is. For example, here the windows, and I will pass those guidelines into my watercolor paper, and I'll be referencing the picture and the guidelines as I go. Once I'm done with the draft with the pencil, I will go back in there with my pen, and typically I start with the easy things, right? Because I'm using a pen here and I don't want to mess it up right now. So starting with the pen and the easy parts of the painting will help me warm up for the harder parts. So this is a micron pen. I think this is the 0.005. It's very thin. And starting with the vegetations and plants and trees is a good beginning here. Once I'm done with that part, I take a break and I look again to see if there is anything I missed that I could be working on before I go to the more detailed spots. I like to leave 1-inch borders all around my paintings. So that's what I'm doing here now. I'm measuring it. And I'm using this blue tape, which now, at the end of the, when I finish the painting, I realized that the blue tape is not a great idea for a painting like this. It throws off all the colors. So the painting will look washed off and too light, and it's pretty much because of that tape that is too blue. And as usual, I'm starting with the sky. It's the largest part, and it works like a warm-up again, like the pen in the vegetation. I am making some clouds. And here again, this is the same process I used in the beginning on the right side of the painting, which is wet on wet. So I wet the area of the sky so that the paint will spread nice and evenly. And I'm leaving some spots for clouds. there we have the sky is ready at this point, and I am gonna be moving on to another big part, or some simpler parts, which is the vegetation usually. For this, I also like to do the wet and on wet process, because then the colors will be nice and even, at least at the first layer. I usually do the first layer one like flat wash, and after it dries, I will go back in and try to add a little more detail with other colors or a different tone of the same color. And now for the front of the house, which is, from the picture, it looked kind of light gray. And with pictures, it's hard for you to see exactly what color it is, because the sun might be shining in a different way, or the sky is cloudy, so the houses will look different depending on the weather. So you can't really tell exactly what color it is. But this one, I think it was some sort of light gray, bluish. So I picked something that was similar in tone. And after I did this first wash on the entire house, I went back in with my thin brush to suggest the lines for the siding. And this part for me, it's like tends to be a little scary, because I don't want to accidentally make like a very sharp line that it's going to stand out more than others. I like to try to keep it like kind of even though I like the differences between darker and brighter and not so dark lines. I don't know if you can hear in my background here, but right now I'm home, and it's we're still dealing with the pandemic, and people are talking in the kitchen. And this microphone is probably picking it up, but that's okay. I think that's the reality for most of us right now, right? We're home with everyone at home. And this is one of my favorite parts to paint, which is the windows. I usually have an idea of what I want to do, but sometimes, the paint goes in and does its own thing. And I like to leave the edges darker, so you get that sense that it's a window that is reflecting light. And I tend to use similar colors that I used for the sky for the windows. I just love the effect that it creates. And when I think I'm done painting, I like to go back in and reinforce some of the lines with the pen. I really like the look of pen and watercolor. I think adding this line makes the house pop a little more. And I also like to do a freehand in this case. I think it gives a little bit more charm to the painting. So here I'm back to the sky because I put this painting far away and took a look at it, and I thought that the sky was a little too light. There wasn't enough contrast between the house and the sky. So I figured, I would add one more layer of sky there and see what happens. And this is where that blue tape comes in to throw everything off, because once I remove that tape, the painting will look different. This is done, and the painting is done, and now I'm going to move on to the calligraphy part. And I like to do the calligraphy on a piece of oh my gosh, what do you call that paper? Tracing paper. And I place it in the proper place, or I play with the placement of it in several different ways. And when I know exactly where that writing should go, I go back in and I do some more measurements. I do some more guidelines, as you can see here, and only then, after I have done a first draft with the pencil, I go back with the ink. Because imagine making a mistake with the ink at this point. That wouldn't be good, would it? So I do have to go with the pencil first. And even then, like after you have the pencil, sometimes it's not gonna look like that, because the nib is usually thicker, right, than the pencil. And sometimes it's hard to judge how thick the lines will actually be once you're in there. See, like here I am getting a little too tight, so I have to expand that leading line for the G a little more. And then I thought that, it would be better if that leg of that G was skinnier, narrower than I had originally planned. So this is done, and I actually waited about 4 hours to go back and erase the guidelines just to be sure. And here you can see the difference between the blue tape and no blue tape. And then you put the white from the mat over it, and it makes it even a even bigger difference. So here I'm just gonna set it up so I can mat it and package it. And I didn't do anything fancy here. I just used some piece of cardboard or some cardstock and tape that I know that tape is not going to damage the painting. And by putting it that way, if you ever want to change the mat, it's going to be super easy. You just go back in there, you lift it, take it out of there, and put it in a different mat. It's super easy. And I also do tape at the top there, so you can just open it up, take your painting out, and do whatever you want with it. Put it in a different mat, different frame, and it's ready. And that's ready to go now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.